Hey there, how's it going? Welcome to Anyessa's Chats. Hola. Today, I got Tegan with me, of course, again. What a surprise. Jump scare. So today's an interesting episode because we started with the idea of conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. And then
we just kind of went into a rabbit hole of unsolved crimes. And you know what? You can make theories about what happened when you don't know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I think we both ended up choosing like an unsolved crime thing. Mm-hmm. However, I think because we both dug deep into those holes, out of context,
just got elbow deep in there.
He just went all in there. Have you seen those cave diving TikToks?
No.
I'm on the side of TikTok, like cave divers TikTok, and they'll be like, when you see the spot, but you're a cave diver, and it'll be like the tiniest crack, and then it'll cut to them having just like their shoes crammed up against it, so it looks like they like jumped into it. I saw someone do it with a cat and a closed door, which is really relevant to our last episode. But they were like, when you close your cat out of your room, and then it like had it cut to a stuffed animal like half stuck underneath the door. Anyways, yes. Where was I going with this? Oh, we both went all into what we were researching a little too much, and so I think we're gonna have 2 episodes.
Yeah, because at first we were like, oh, we'll just do like 3 little conspiracy theories each. We were both like, yeah, we're just gonna do 1 story each.
I was like, or you can just do 2 or 3, and then I was like, or you can just do 1. Yeah, we're doing 1. Actually, they're not conspiracy theories. So. Yeah, I guess Tegan's gonna go on this first episode. So, all right. So, what story are you telling us?
Okay, it's a thing I always think about like a lot. It's like, I don't know, what's something like, it's like, what's it called when you just like think about it a lot? It's my Roman Empire. I think, just men think about Rome a lot. I don't know. I think about this a lot. I don't know if that made sense.
No, okay, sorry. I was just like messing with my microphone. But no, I 100% understand. Because Tegan brought this up after she's already done all the research, told me the topic she was going to do. And I remembered we had listened to a Morbid episode about this. So, Morbid podcast, they're cool. And yeah, so I understand it. Because I almost chose this topic like this close to choosing it. Because I was like, I'll probably do a different episode on it is literally what I decided. I was like, oh, I probably want to do more research. So I just won't choose that one.
I probably should have told you before I went into it. And you're like, wait, no, don't.
No, it's fine. Anyway, so you want to introduce it because they don't know what we're talking about.
Oh, right. Okay, so I'm doing it about the missing and or dead Sodder children. It was basically, the lowdown about it is it was 1945, Christmas Eve. The parents, George and Jenny Sodder, they have 10 children, but there's one went off to like military or something.
So many children.
So 9 children were home.
Well, it's kind of like cats. After 3, you just don't even know how many there are.
But basically, they got awoken in the middle of the night by a fire. They only made it out with 4 children, which was their 2-year-old Sylvia, their 16-year-old George Jr., their 17-year-old Marion, and their 23-year-old John. And then 5 did not make it out of the house, or were never in the house, some believe. 14-year-old Maurice, 12-year-old Martha, 9-year-old Louis, 8-year-old Jenny, and 5-year-old Betty, sorry. And the ones basically that didn't come out of the house, they shared like 2 bedrooms on like the top floor, and no remains were found after like everything was settled. So basically, either they just were never in the house or they burned with the house, basically was the consensus.
Right, because yeah, I guess yeah.
You're good. If you have something to say, you say.
Yeah, I was just, the whole, no, I'll wait, we'll get into it. We'll get into it, because I know it's going to be written on your page. Anyway. I'm just so excited. I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited to sit here and smile while you tell the story.
Yeah, you just smile and nod. Or else. I'm kidding.
Last time she said she was being held captive, it's me. I'm the one.
Sure.
Tegan's like, let's do the podcast now.
I'm like, I have something to say.
I was like, hey, can we do conspiracy theories? She goes, no.
Like, no, we're doing unsolved crimes. Sorry. Anyway, for background information, so later theories about what actually, well, might have happened, not actually. George Sodder, the father, immigrated from Italy and eventually got to Fayetteville, West Virginia. I don't think if I said where it happened. It was in Fayetteville, West Virginia, if I didn't say it.
I don't think
If I did say it, I'm going to say it again. Fayetteville, Fayette. I might be butchering it. West Virginia.
It was West Virginia. That's all that matters. Just kidding.
Anyway, so eventually he got to Fayetteville, West Virginia, married Jenny. They had 10 kids. Wow. And the town had a very nice Italian immigrant community. Well, nice is a good way to put it. Anyway, and he was very active in it, and he was just very vocal about what he believed in. And he was very vocal about not liking the fascist dictator. Oh, fuck. I just know his last name is Mussolini. It says I think it's Benito. I don't know. He's a really not good guy. World War II. You ever studied that at all?
We got you.
Not great. He had some very dedicated followers, just for some input there. It'll come back later. Anyway, George started out working with a man named Theo Renzo. God, I'm going to butcher this. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. Just assume the names are close to what we're saying.
I'm probably not going to say his last name ever again, but Theo Renzo, I know for sure. Genitalia? It kind of sounds like genitalia.
Genitalia. Perfect. We'll
Genitalia. Anyway, he worked with a guy, Theo Renzo. Basically, he thought the exact opposite. He loved Mussolini. Thought that's the way they needed to go. Yeah, I don't know. They were apparently very close. So close that when he left to start his own trucking company, that he had a $1,500 mortgage clause that went to Theo Renzo. So if anything happened to the house or them, he got the money.
Oh, okay.
And allegedly, he had it increased to $1,750 without their approval. And after everything happened, even ended up with all the payout of everything. Even though, there was still family left over. He got the payout.
Oh, so the people who survived it didn't even get the thing this dude did?
No,
oh,
he did it.
Gosh. Talk about conspiracies.
Yeah. According to reports, 60 days before the fire, Theo Renzo attempted to get him to sign additional, a life insurance policy. Tried to get, more out of him. Yeah, he tried to get more out of him. And when he got pissed when he said no, because he got, a life insurance, salesman with him. And he was like, okay, let's get this. And he's like, yeah, I don't think I need that. He got really, really mad. Really mad. Kind of like when you tell a man no sometimes. They just... Anyway... Right. And he said, and I quote, "Your damn house is going up in smoke and your children are going to be destroyed. You're going to be paid for the dirty remarks you've been making about Mussolini."
Awesome.
Not suspicious at all.
Not suspicious. And their house is going to burn down? What?
No. There was also instance a month before the fire, a stranger showed up and asked for hauling work. So basically just showed up to her house and he's like, "You got stuff I can haul for money?" Mm-hmm. Anyway, he lingered in the back of the house where the fuse boxes were and actually noted to George that this is going to cause a fire someday. Which was really strange because George didn't think of anything of it because literally, he had recently had the power company come to his house and had them, look at the wiring because I think they were installing, a new, stove or something. Yeah. They were, pretty middle class. They were pretty, well-received family in the town, apparently. They're getting that dough. But he was like, "Hey, while you're in here wiring in our new fancy stove, can you just check out all our wiring and stuff and make sure we're, good?" And they were like, "Yeah, it's perfect. Not going to cause a fire or anything."
Yeah, it's fine.
Not going to cause a fire. Wiring will not be a cause.
A professional said that.
Of the fire. A professional said that.
Recently.
Yes. Anyway. Mm-hmm. And a couple days before, the fire, the surviving children, later they said that they saw a man watching the younger Sodder children coming home from school.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, to the night of the fire, I'm probably going to come back to the night of fire a lot. Anyway.
Not of the fire.
Yeah. The night.
'Twas the night of the fire.
Yeah. Not Christmas Eve. It was the night of the fire. All through the house. Everybody was stirring. Get out of the house. Anyway.
That was good.
Yeah, I know. I just came up with that on the fly.
That was impressive.
I was kind of impressed at myself. Anyway, 12:30 a.m., phone rang. It's kind of irrelevant, but, it's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny answered, and a female voice asked to speak to somebody she didn't know. In the background, sounded like there was a party going on.
Kind of like right now.
Yeah, basically. Next door, they just be bopping.
Yeah, there's like a bar, whatever it is, and they're bumping music. I hope it doesn't come through the microphones, but,
Hopefully not. But anyway, she was like, yeah, I don't know you, wrong number.
I shoot you.
But when she was talking on the phone, she noticed the lights downstairs were, like, on. And she went downstairs, and she saw that Marion, the 17-year-old, was asleep on the couch downstairs. And it was odd because, like, she had let the kids, like, stay up a little later.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I don't care if you guys stay up late. Just go outside, bring the cows and chickens in. Marion had a job. She had just, working at that old 9-to-5 Pop's Diner. And
Yeah.
it was exciting. They all got their, I don't know if people normally do this, but they got, Christmas Eve, you get to open one present, excited.
Yeah, it was a little
Santa was coming.
Yeah.
Eesh. Anyway, so she, locked the door. She just assumed that they all just went to sleep and just didn't, do the things they usually did, which was lock the door and turn off all the lights.
Right.
So she did that, went back upstairs, and went to go to sleep. As she was going to sleep, she heard a loud bang on the roof, followed by a rolling noise. She went back to sleep.
Santa Claus fell.
Yeah. See, if I went to sleep and I heard like a bang noise above me and some rolling, we have cats. So I'd assume, oh shoot, they got into something.
It probably sounds like that for you normally with my cats.
It really does. I hear something bang sometimes and I'm like, it's a cat. But if it was you and you heard something, because you live like upstairs.
Yeah.
You'd probably be a little concerned to be like,
yeah,
the fuck
if I heard
that?
like a full whatever.
What I can assume is basically like a bowling ball dropping and like rolling, basically.
That kind of sound, yeah.
Yeah. But later she smelled and saw smoke coming into the room, Then something was wrong. Mm-hmm. Woke up George, grabbed Sylvia, the 2-year-old, from her crib and just screamed for everybody to just get out of the house. Everybody was like coming out of their rooms. Well, not everybody. But,
right.
They yelled for the children upstairs. No response. No nothing. Nothing to signify that they were even actually up there. Anyway. But when the 5 remaining children didn't come out of the house, George just decided, fuck it, I'll save myself.
Right.
He broke back into the house. He had like sliced his arm on a broken window. And he couldn't get upstairs because the staircase was now just engulfed in flames. He just tried multiple times just to get in there and save those children. He went to go get his ladder where they always put it, like in the same spot every time. It was missing from the spot they had always put it in.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was later found, like, there was, like, different reports. It was, like, 70, 75 feet away, but 75 feet away, and I saw in some cases it was, like, thrown into a ditch.
Right, like,
in one case, I read, like, a cliff, but anyway, it was, like, way, way, way out from the house. Like,
yeah, a ladder isn't something you move around typically without knowing, and especially if you're, like, the father of the house. If someone's moving the ladder, it's probably for something that you're involved in, I'm gonna say, especially outside of the house.
But it was like 70
stereotypically
feet away from the house. Like, it was not even near the house. So then he thought maybe he could get one of his trucks, park it by the house, and get into the second story that way. Went to go start the truck. Didn't start. None of them started.
Oh my gosh.
And they were working like previously, like that day.
Yeah.
Anyway. But there was nobody saw, like, the kids, like, trying to escape. Like, nobody saw them, like, go to the window, try and get out of there. And it's not like they just laid in bed and was just like, well, I guess we're burning to death.
Yeah, like no screaming, anything.
No, nothing. But while he was trying to do that, Marion, the 17-year-old, ran to the neighbors. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention they did try to call the fire department at the time, but the phone wasn't working. Their phone wasn't working.
Right, even though it had worked earlier that night with the phone call.
Yep.
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot. I skipped a line. Anyway, while Marion ran to the neighbors to go call the fire department. There we go.
Call the department.
But the operator on duty was not on duty, apparently. So she tried the second neighbor.
Uh-huh.
And the second neighbor, same result. And so the second neighbor went to town to go get the fire chief. Found him at a bar.
Right.
So he claimed he was too, intoxicated, and he needs to call everybody else.
Do something
and they were short-staffed because, World War II and everything. So
yeah,
it was basically by, volunteer basis.
Yeah, and also, yeah.
So they called for help at, 2 a.m. The Sodder home was only 2.5 miles away from the firehouse. They did not get there until 8 a.m., which was...
Brother, you can run that faster. Lots faster. You could have done that 100 times.
Yeah. Yeah. So... and it was also Christmas Eve, so I guess nobody just wanted to get out, apparently.
I mean, I guess, but to be fair, okay, sure. Someone's house was on fire, but it's fine.
Yep. But basically, by the time they got there, it was just everything... The fire was already over. The house only burned for, I want to say 35, 45 minutes, and it was gone. Basically, when they got there, looked for remains, nothing. They told the parents nothing was found. Anyway, the coroner committee, the people that choose, the cause or whatever and everything, they said the cause was bad wiring.
Even though the electric company said, nah, ain't gonna happen.
No. And the fire chief, F.J. Morris, said the fire was just so hot that it cremated the children, and that's why there was no remains.
That ain't how that worked.
The science is not science.
The science ain't mathin'.
At first, they kind of just accepted it, and he was just like, yeah, just scoop some ashes out and just treat that and bury that as your, for your kids.
Uh-huh.
And a week later, the coroner issued a death certificate. No bodies. No bodies at all. Nothing.
In a week.
Mm-hmm. A week later.
And it was 6 kids, right?
Five.
Five of them.
Five kids.
5 of the kids.
5 kids.
5? Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that would leave a lot of remains.
You have 5 kids and no one left a trace at all? Either you ain't doing your job very well or they weren't there.
So George and Jenny started to think their kids were not, in fact, dead not long after the fire, but they were kidnapped.
Right. That's what I would think.
They were just starting to ask, questions that we are asking. Why the fuck did it take them 7 hours to get out there? I know they probably wouldn't be able to help anything, but at least they could get out there while it was still happening. Anyway, witnesses to the Fayette, witnesses saw that the Fayette Fire Department didn't have their lights on the way to the fire when they finally were.
Oh, so they just cruising down the road. There's no
road.
I mean, to be fair, if you're already that late, you probably don't.
They didn't have the breathing apparatuses, the stuff to go in there and actually go get people without smoke inhalation. So even if they did get there and actually get there in a timely manner, they wouldn't be able to go in there.
Yeah. I mean, even after the fire's out for a while, you still have to wear those and deal with all of the smoke and everything, because it smokes for how long,
Yeah. So they were starting to think it was set intentionally for some sort of kidnapping. One eyewitness saw balls of fire flung onto the Sodder's roof. Yeah. Later, when they were trying to set up, they were kind of clearing everything through, Sylvia, the 2-year-old, found a hard rubber object in the yard, and George thought it was a napalm pineapple bomb.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. And basically just a rubber ball.
Yeah.
And that could have been the drop and the rolling that she heard on the roof.
That would track. Okay.
And
now math's mathin'.
Yes. And the flames were said to spread top to bottom. And if it was faulty wiring, the electricity would not have worked.
Right.
At all. And lights were going. unless it was like right after she turned off all the lights and everything.
Or in a specific part, I guess. I don't know.
And if it was electrical, it probably would have started. I feel like it would have started bottom to top.
Yeah, I mean, depending on where or what, but most likely.
I don't know.
Or
Sorry, those are my 2 cents thrown in there. Anyway, so Jenny was just kind of starting to get pissed. So she was like, are they even telling us like the right stuff? So she started experimenting on like animal bones, and she was like setting them on fire, and they always left like bones left over. They would never burn to ashes no matter like how hot she'd get it.
Yeah.
She then spoke with a crematorium employee and told her bones were left behind even when the fire was burning at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 hours.
Yeah.
An average house fire is like 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit, and the Sodder home only burned, like I said, for like 30 to 45 minutes.
Not long enough.
So
not hot enough.
That would be bones.
Yeah.
And to like tell you that the house fire was not hot enough, because we said it was like set off by like a napalm bomb or whatever, the household appliances were like still intact.
Oh yeah.
So
no way bones
it would
going down
not have
not
been
all
like,
of them, not that easily.
Yeah, it would not been hot
Even
enough.
children's bones.
So after they kind of like were like, okay, has anybody sightings kind of started coming in? So like the first sighting was the night of the fire. A woman said she saw the children and a car that was driving away while the fire was still burning. The next sighting was like 50 miles away from the town. It was like a woman that ran like a tourist stop or whatever, and she saw the children Christmas morning, and she said, I served them breakfast and they got into a car with Florida license plates.
That's the crazy. That was a crazy. I remember. That's crazy.
There was another sighting in Charleston, West Virginia at a hotel. It was a week after the fire. And a woman said that she saw 4 to 5 children with 2 men and 2 women who were speaking Italian. And she tried to talk to the children, but the men were like hostile and they were refusing to allow her to talk to them. And they left the next morning. And they came in like really late at night, like at 12:30 and like at night.
Yeah.
But that was like a week after the fire. A few later, George even saw like a picture of like a New York City school children, and he believed one of them was like his missing children. He drove all the way up there and found the parents, but the parents refused to talk to him.
Right.
They eventually just kind of were like running out of leads, so they hired a pathologist, Oscar B. Hunter, and he excavated the burn site. They found 4 pieces of human vertebrae, sent them into the Smithsonian Institute to be tested. They thought it was 4 lumbar vertebrae with fused transverse recesses. Basically, in English, it was a 16 to 23-year-old person.
They were not too old to be the children.
They were too old to be the children. And they also said those bones were never in a fire. So apparently there was just some bones in the dirt.
So potentially there was another murder case on site. Also, what interesting bones to be there. It's
Just
not like,
there.
Someone's leg.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or a
To be
toenail.
fair, he did
that's
get
not a bone.
I did read he made like, because whatever was left of the house, it was literally just like the basement. He did like fill everything with like dirt. So maybe it was like the dirt maybe that he had gotten.
Yeah.
That brings up other questions, because why was there bones in that dirt? Because it was of a person.
There was another murder going on. There was another one. And they're probably connected. I don't know how, but they probably are.
Anyway, so the bones, he got his bones back. I don't know. They got lost, apparently. So if he had still had them, they could have tested them and could have found out at least like where they came from, at least.
Yeah, you could find out more information to some degree.
But they were lost, apparently. So.
No, obviously, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, finally the governor, Oakley Patterson, called the close to the case. The prosecutor said it would only reopen if evidence like was there for like a kidnapping, which I feel like there was
sightings of the kids with random adults.
I feel like
sounds like a potential kidnapping.
I feel like there was definitely evidence of foul play.
I'm not law enforcement, though.
He even tried in 1947. So like 2 years later, he tried to get FBI involved, and J. Edgar Hoover was like, "Yeah, this shit's fucked. But we do need permission from the local authorities."
Right.
So they asked. What do you think they said?
Nah, man.
Nope.
Nah.
Nope. Nope. Nothing. I just, and I know it wasn't because they were like, "Oh no, we can handle this." I'm pretty sure it was, no, you don't need to look into this.
They're probably paid off by somebody.
Which is crazy. I know, like, you know, they need permission to, like, they can't just dive. But I feel like in situations like that, where it's like the authorities don't really have a reason to, like, not say no.
5 missing
and
children.
It kind of seems like, you know, something's like stinks.
Something's up. It's very obviously.
And it's obviously the authorities that are stinking.
All of these things that are adding together to be like, this doesn't make sense. Like, there's not really anything that leads them to believe that they were in the house. There was nothing being like, yeah, they were home. The biggest thing, I guess, is the parents assumed they were asleep in bed. But that's pretty much it. But there wasn't bones. There's these sightings from other people. There's, whatever. You would think there'd be a way to override that somehow. Mm-hmm. For 5 children. It's a lot of children.
Yeah, it's
not
crazy.
Just one.
It's literally, yeah, if it was like one child, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, I still think that'd be crazy, but yeah.
It'd still be very crazy. But for 5 children, that's just...
Yeah.
And I'm pretty... The youngest one was like 5. So it's like a 5-year-old just walking somewhere. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah. So, basically, as time went on, there was more leads. One eyewitness said they saw 2 identifiable men. Fuck me, goddamn. Anyway, they were stealing a block and tackle crane from the Sodder residence. It's like a crane that picks up like engines from cars. I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
I think. Don't quote me on that.
It's a crane. It does stuff.
Crane. Be the crane.
Caw. Cranes probably don't make caw sounds. No, I just picture like you just driving by a construction site and you just hear caw.
Oh my. It's not a cat calling. It's crane calling.
Did you send me that video or did I send it to you? There was a TikTok. It was like, maybe I didn't send it to you. Or like, this person has way too many cats in their yard. Like, this is insane. Let me show you. Flips it around and it's a bunch of like cat tractors and such. It was really funny. Anyways.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, they were stealing. Back to theft.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, they were identified as Dave Atkins and Lonnie Johnson. Only Lonnie was actually questioned because Dave went to the army to escape prosecution. And Lonnie said he cut the phone lines because he thought they were the power lines, basically. He cut the phone lines.
Excuse me? Okay. I mean, I guess.
But anyway,
sure.
He pled guilty to stealing and paid a whopping $25 fine.
Wow.
Yeah, officials later admitted they should have been investigated more because guess what? Their previous employer, Theo Renzo. They were affiliated with Theo Renzo. You know, the guy who, if anything bad happened, would get the money.
Right.
And thing bad
Someone
happened.
Has motive.
And he did get money. Yeah. You'll you literally, Theo Renzo's got his hands in everything. Oh. Everything. They got like all kinds of tips. Most of them were like BS. A lot of people in town thought like the mafia was involved, which is kind of stupid because...
Why?
They thought like the mafia was like mad that he was like shit talking Mussolini. Oh. Even though the mafia...
Okay, I guess, but...
Mussolini did not like the mafia and like wiped out a lot of the mafia. So like the mafia would not be like against Mussolini. They would actually fucking hate his guts. So I don't think that makes any sense.
Yeah, not really.
The family even received a letter from a woman in St. Louis claiming the eldest daughter wasn't Martha was living in a convent there. I don't know. Like, people thought like Jenny's like family took the children, which they all like proved they didn't take the children.
Yeah.
They proved like all their biological children were theirs, you know. John Sodder, one of the elder children, thought they were kidnapped and taken back to Italy. In 1968, a tip came in, 23 years later. A photograph was sent to Jenny with no return address. It had a Kentucky postmark. And in the photo was a man in his mid-20s, and George and Jenny were like, "That's our son."
Oh my gosh. There's just all of these. Oh gosh. I just can't imagine, like, these children just growing up after
They're just,
this,
like, out there.
just living in the world.
Like, they'd still
Nobody
be
knows.
kicking today.
That is insane. I just can't. That's always crazy to me. It's always whenever we watch a show or something, like, you know, we watch a lot of Criminal Minds lately, or anything of that degree. It's always like, what happens after you survive those crazy things? Like, these kids, they just going on about their lives.
The 2-year-old Sylvia, she says her like first memory was the fire and her dad just screaming and crying, like, getting his children out of there. It was one of her first memories.
Yeah, imagine just being the other siblings, being like, oh, well, I had 5 other siblings, but they gone.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure in their town, like, everybody knows that, but, you know, how do you continue your life when 5 of your children just go missing?
If like one of my siblings went missing, because like I'm pretty sure they were all like the ones that were like that made it out, the 4 of them, one was 17 already.
Yeah.
23 was John, 16-year-old was George Jr. So they were all like pretty grown and able to remember their younger siblings.
Yeah.
Because the youngest one was like,
because it was like so it was basically like the middle children that got taken, right?
It was the 5-year-old Betty, 8-year-old Jenny, 9-year-old Louis, 12-year-old Martha, and then 14-year-old Maurice.
That's like perfectly the middle chunk, right? I mean, yeah, minus the 2-year-old, like,
the
middle.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were just like,
it was basically just all the younger children that were all sharing a room.
Yeah.
Upstairs. The only reason Sylvia was out was because she was probably still in a crib nearby in the parents' room.
I was like, the 2-year-old's probably too much of an inconvenience, too much work, you know, still doing their thing, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas the other kids were just old enough that they could be...
They were the ones that would have been bopping out doing chores late at night after the parents went to bed. Because the ones that were, like, left, they were all asleep already.
Yeah.
And Marion was, like, inside on the couch, you know.
Mm-hmm.
John, George Jr., and Sylvia and the parents, they all went to sleep. And the other ones stayed up, did chores outside, and supposedly came back. But I don't think they did. That's just me. That's just me.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, like, was there somebody that you know, ran into the kid, you know, maybe the person claimed that somebody was watching their kids come home. What if that person that was watching them came up to them while they were doing chores, you know, and they were like, hey, kids, what if we come play a game tonight, you know?
I got candy, come to my house.
Come out tonight. And then they came out with them, started the fire, took the children, boom, gone. I don't know, that's kind of how my brain would complete the situation, I guess.
But yeah, hold on. So this is the photo that got sent.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty...
It definitely looks like...
It's pretty close. It's...
I could believe it.
Pretty close.
I'd for sure believe it.
I could believe it. If I was desperate, because I had the same, like, dark curly hair, like... You know, same
like
eyes,
eyebrows and like jaw,
they said
face.
They didn't know their son, but like they said they had like the same nose and like the slightly tilted eyebrow.
Yeah.
But on the back of the note was Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie, ill boys, A90132 or 35. That was on the back of the photo. They didn't know what the fuck that meant.
Huh.
So they didn't know if, like, they didn't really want to show it to the local authorities because, one,
ain't gonna believe them.
They don't do shit. didn't help him in the past. Why would they help him now? And 2, they were afraid if they went to like the cops, it was like some sort of like ransom situation. Like if they told the authorities, like he'd be in danger.
Mm-hmm.
So they hired a private detective to find out where it came from. He went missing.
The private detective went missing. Oh,
So
that's a
either
good
like
sign.
he took their money and ran off, or he actually did his damn job and he got whacked. Don't know. You can hire a PI to find your PI.
Hey, you know, sometimes you gotta.
There were people that thought maybe that like it'd be like a zip code or like some coordinates for like Italy or something, but
Nothing really came of that.
nope. But George and Jenny would like set up a billboard on Route 16 that had photos of all their children and like basically kind of like the low rundown I gave you in the beginning, that like fire started, nothing happened,
Mm-hmm.
no remains were found, and it literally stayed up for like over like 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah. They did get like another PI, CC Tinsley, and this is where he kind of starts like digging out the dirt, where I say like you find out that one guy, hold on, I'll think of it. Theo Renzo kind of had his hands in another cookie jar, because he talked to the member of coroner's jury, like the guy who decides, it was faulty wiring that caused it. Well, on the committee was the life insurance salesman that was like working with Theo Renzo, who was trying to get that, trying to get George to sign that life insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
he was
Right.
the one adamantly going like it was the faulty wiring. It was the wiring.
It's the faulty wiring. It's the wiring.
We need
It's
to
the
push for
wiring.
that.
It's the wiring. Give me the insurance money. It's the wiring.
He also had that same like pro Mussolini, fascism.
Right.
Kind of thing going for him. He also talked to the fire marshal, and he said like they talked to all the guys like who sorted through all the remains. Every single person said that they had found human remains.
Sure they did. But where were they? Where was this before?
And he was like, well, why didn't they say anything? And he was like, oh, they were all Russian. They must not have been paying attention.
There's no way.
Because they were only there for like 2 hours. Usually they're there for like 2 weeks. It was, remains might have been found. I don't know. It was Christmas.
Nobody finds human remains and just go, especially children.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of remains. That would have been hard for the family that was there not to notice.
Yeah, it wouldn't have taken a professional or anything like to be like, oh yeah, that's a radius.
So anyway, Tinsley was like, this shit ain't adding up. So I don't know how he got it out of him. Maybe the minister just had loose lips. But he found a minister that the fire chief had told him in confession. You're not. Pro tip: ministers aren't supposed to blab about what people tell them in confession. Just saying.
Everyone sucks.
I don't know.
Everyone's the asshole.
Everyone sucks here. Anyway, and the confession was that he had found a heart in the ashes, and he put that heart in a box and buried it where the house once stood. So he got the fire marshal or whatever, the fire chief, the one that was drunk, BT dubs, to tell him where he buried the box. Do you know what was in the fucking box? It was beef liver. Wasn't human.
So I don't know if y'all know this, but being a firefighter typically means being an EMT. Being an EMT typically means knowing some basic medical knowledge at the minimum.
I don't know if he literally was just like, he did that, like, it's
Maybe
really,
he was so drunk he thought it was a heart.
I don't know. Maybe he, like, was trying to do this elaborate scheme where, like, oh, I'll get this beef liver and I'll say it was a heart and then I'll tell a minister. And maybe that minister was known for having loose lips. And then,
if it's that detailed.
yeah, for sure. But anyway, and he thought it would, like, provide closure for them and they'd stop looking.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Also, where would you find a heart? In a fire, where would you find a heart?
Yeah, I don't know. That would have burned.
Okay,
like,
the bones burned, but the heart didn't.
Yeah.
The heart, man, it's a powerful thing.
But
What?
it's a
What?
powerful thing.
Dude.
To the power of love.
It's a whole nother element.
Anyway, so in 1969, George died at 74. Jenny lived on until 1989. She died at the age of 85. She only ever wore black after the fire, and she kept like a flower garden near like the side of the fire. They never gave up looking, and even their children are looking.
Yeah, how could you? I want to still be looking. This is insane.
Mm-hmm.
There is oftentimes when you hear like even the story I'm going to tell next, when you hear like unsolved cases and things like that, there's some sort of general, oh, this is probably what happened, you're overreacting, it's just a coincidence. With this, I don't feel that at all.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, oh, I'm sure they were in the house, I'm sure it's fine. Like there's not that. I don't have like, not even a small part of me thinks that that's what happened.
But basically the main theory is George Sodder was an outspoken like anti-fascist and anti-Mussolini Italian American. He made enemies and received threats from that one guy who said, hey, I'm gonna fucking burn down your house. And you know, that happened. And I think his other like 5 children were just taken when they were outside.
But what does that have to do with this? Like, okay, he's a fascist, so you steal his children, but you just steal them and what? Raise them as your own? Like, what is the motive there?
I think that part of the theory was that I don't think they either like basically just went out and put them in a random orphanage or something, or they
just sprinkled them out throughout the world, or just yeah. Just wouldn't you think they would steal it and try to hold him for ransom or some sort of? Because I think advantage to some degree, so. Right?
You'd think so.
Stop being a fascist and we won't kill your children or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless they did it and they got scared and were like, I don't know, orphanage here.
Basically,
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or somebody. I think people were being paid off somewhere. You know, like I think the police department was being paid, or they were involved in like one of the people were involved.
I think something.
Or, you know, maybe even the fire department. Maybe whatever.
Because there was definitely foul play. Like the ladder was like moved like 70 feet away from their home. Like the trucks weren't turning on. Like
everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Basically, the phone lines were cut, and they were all involved with that one. That one guy, I feel
the
like
operator wasn't there. Mm-mm. Which, you know, to be fair, you could be like, oh, Christmas Eve in a small town. Okay.
But I feel like I don't know.
I feel like
I don't know. I feel like everybody has to take like the shit shift. I don't know.
Yeah, I would assume that I would assume that there still would be one person on call or whatever. I don't know. Maybe not in that year. Maybe they were like, how do you just not? I don't know. That's crazy. Yeah.
The only thing is I just don't know why they'd... Because, like, I get maybe, like, trying to, like, I don't know, kill them or something. Because, I feel like the children maybe were, like, outside. I think they went to go just burn down their house to get that insurance payout.
Yeah.
And I think the children were outside doing the chores.
And just got
late
caught.
At night. And they were witnesses to them
They just were an unfortunate, like,
and I think they were just a loose end that needed to be tied up. Yeah. I don't know what they would have done with them. I don't know if they would have killed them or if they would have just kidnapped them and taken them somewhere.
You would think of because the older one was like 9, right?
The oldest
The older of the ones that were taken.
Let's see. Sorry, there's so many, it's hard to keep track.
I know.
The oldest one was 14.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like a 14-year-old knows to be like, hey, yo, this ain't where I'm from. This ain't my family. You know, like take me to my family. You know?
And like because like
even
if you
even
saw
the younger
some people,
and the 5-year-old.
Yeah, because they wouldn't let like a 5-year-old go out and do chores by themselves or whatever.
Yeah.
But I could see like the 14-year-old and the 12-year-old going out and doing chores, and like the younger ones just come along. You're 14, you see some strange men, or at least, you know, people at your house fucking around with your house.
Mm-hmm.
You go, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And your witnesses suddenly.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe they offed the older of the kids and, you know, couldn't break, you know, I don't know. There's no way the kids died in that fire.
I don't know. Or somebody, like, snuck into the attic using the ladder before, like, putting...
And drug it out with them or something.
Yeah, before, like, putting the bomb on the roof. And then...
They fell off the roof. That was the noise.
That was the thud and the rolling. That was just a body just going...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Santa Claus told you, man. What a Christmas.
Well,
That's awful.
I don't know. I really doubt somebody could, like, throw it up there. Maybe they got the ladder, put the bomb up there.
I mean, it depends
took the
on...
ladder with them. And,
it's
like...
at least a 2-story house.
It was a 2-story house, yes.
So... I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
That was just...
That's crazy. No, I agree. That story also sticks with me. I mean, it's one of those things where you're just like, okay, it's not solved. It's not
solved. There's no, like, clear, like, leads. It's all he said, she said, somebody saw this.
Yeah.
Somebody saw this, you know. It's not clear evidence. There's no remains, no nothing. They're literally still, like, their grandchildren are still trying to find. I mean, but it's hard because everybody who knew something is probably already passed away.
Yeah.
So
they probably are, whatever.
It might just forever remain unsolved. Sorry.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Again, because there's not even a conclusion my brain can complete that I'm satisfied with.
I know.
Okay. Well, you did that a little bit faster than we were thinking, so I think we're going to transition to my story. We'll take a little second here to reset. But, all right, so we have transitioned. Look at us. Wait a second.
Whoa.
Never mind. Say not in my America. Anyways, but yeah, I'm going to be talking about the Yuba County 5. I think I said saying that right. Yuba County 5. I'm probably going to butcher a lot of these names and things, but I'm really excited about this. Yeah, I don't know. So it took place, well, the 5 are for 5 men who disappeared.
Whoa.
Okay. They were from Yuba City, California.
Whoa.
So Yuba County 5.
Uba.
Cool. Uba. So yeah, they disappeared after going to a basketball game together. Whoa. And 5 went missing. 4 bodies were found. 1 was never found.
Oh.
Okay. So I'm going to get into kind of who they are first. So first off, we have Gary Matias, I believe is how you pronounce it. He was 25. Mm-hmm. He was in the U.S. Army. He was medically discharged because he has schizophrenia. Oh. So that's important. Though he had schizophrenia, he was very intelligent. But he had in the past gotten into some legal trouble. He even twice escaped from the psychiatric facilities. Once he walked over 130 miles from a Veterans Administration hospital back to his hometown. 130 miles. You realize how far that is?
Jesus.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
I feel like that's like driving. That's like, what, close?
Half of that is a lot.
Yeah.
Dude, 1 mile is a lot. So, you know, he had trouble in his past. However, he had gotten on some pretty good medication, and everyone said that he was doing really well. He was even holding down a stable job. Cool. Fine and dandy. Next up, we have Jack Doc. He was called Doc because he was a fan of, like, Looney Tunes and quoting them, so they called him Doc. But Jack Madruga? Sure. He's 30. He was also an Army veteran, and he owned the car that they took that night to the basketball game. It was a 1969 Mercedes. It was a 1969 Mercury Montego. It's a pretty cool looking car. But I'm just going to refer to it as the car, but for my car people out there. The other videos I was watching, they would like list out the car every time, and it was really confusing because his name is Madruga Mercury Montego, whatever, how you pronounce it. It's a lot
Montague?
There's too many M's and now I'm confused. Anyways.
My mommy mashed
he drove the car.
M&Ms. That's a lot of M's.
Yeah, what you want to M? You want M&Ms. Anyway, sorry, I'm doing great. But he was known as kind of the quiet and responsible one. He was extremely close to his mother. And going back to his car, he was extremely attached to his car. Like, he really took care of it. He didn't like to drive anywhere that he didn't know.
Me.
Specifically, he also didn't like to drive, like, off-road. Like, he probably wouldn't have really driven on a gravel road even. Just kind of taking care of his car. And again, something I should kind of go back to, and I should have mentioned, but Gary had schizophrenia. These other 4 dudes I'm going to mention all had some sort of mental illness, so they were all probably, I'm going to say, some form on the autism spectrum somewhere along the lines. They weren't the most like intelligent. So yeah, and this was for reference, this was, what year is this? 1978, I think. Yeah, 1978. So back then, they didn't really, diagnoses weren't super great, and so they didn't really know.
They just called you the R word.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so that's also why he never really went to unfamiliar areas, because that was just kind of part of his routine. And kind of the same for most of them. Next up, we have Bill Sterling. He was 29. He was said to be the most kind-hearted of the group. He was deeply religious and loved helping others. One of his favorite things to do was visit hospitals and read the Bible verses to patients. Did you hear that sound?
Yeah, I did.
We'll ignore that.
Hey, quiet down over there.
You like the Bible? Okay, chill.
Said the Bible. This is my shit.
Yeah, hell yeah, turn it up. Anyways, so yeah, Bill, kind of overall good dude, very nice, sweet. Also, again, some form of mental illness struggles, whatever. Next up, we have Jack Hewitt. He was 24, and he was the youngest of the 5. Some say that he was the most dependent on his family. He was very shy and had a learning disability, again, like most did, but it made him very nervous in unfamiliar situations. He relied on his friends and family for comfort and security, especially, he especially relied on Ted, which is the next person I'm going to get to. It was also said that he wasn't able to read or write.
Oof.
And yeah, just the most intellectually challenged of the group. Next up is Ted Wire. He was 32. He's said to be the most outgoing of the 5. He was often joking around and chatting with strangers. He was incredibly close to his mother and called frequently to check in. So that's what kind of the 5. They all were together. They were kind of part of a group. I think that worked together with kind of like disabilities and that, because they were all, even though they were all well adults, again, due to their disabilities, they all lived at home and relied on their family to help take care of them and make sure, they were doing all the things they needed to do. So, but they all kind of bonded over a few different things. One of the main things they did, they played basketball together. And so they were like a part of a team. They were going to be going to the, like a Special Olympics tournament, that if they had won this tournament, they would have been able to go to Disneyland. So it was kind of a cool thing.
They got a basketball game tomorrow?
They had a basketball game tomorrow, but unfortunately the day before, on February 24th, 1978, they went to a basketball game in Chico, California. They did have a great time because their team won. This Chico, California, for reference, is 50 miles away from where they live. Ooh. So it was a decent car ride. They all piled into Jack's car, Jack Madruga's car, and headed that way. But again, the game went good. Their team won. They were having a great time. Afterwards, they went and stopped at a nearby market, a little small convenience store. They went and bought some snacks. The cashier recalled that they were in a great mood, laughing and talking as they left. And that was the last confirmed sighting of them.
How far away were they from, like, home?
I don't know what that sound was. Spooky. Spooky. Okay, we're fine. Well, this was, I think the market was in Chico, California, okay. So I think about 50 miles away.
Okay, still 50. Okay, I didn't know home. If it was like on the way. It was probably like, oh, let's get some snacks before we start.
Yeah,
it's kind of how we do our.
I'll do better with the locations. I have more specifics on the later information, But yeah, there was, however, one other guy who claims to maybe have seen them. His name was Joseph Shones. He was having car trouble in the snow because it was super snowy this time of year. It's February. And so actually, I believe his car got stuck, and as he was pushing his car, he suffered a minor heart attack. And then ended up walking, I believe, 8 miles to, I don't know, like wherever location it was, where he supposedly, at around 11 p.m. that night, supposedly saw the car that the kids were driving I say kids, they're older than me. The boys, the parents referred to them as the boys, so probably referred to them as the boys. Anyways, but this guy claims to have seen the empty car, but due to his reputation for dishonesty and drinking, it raised questions into the reliability of his testimony. But, it's notable. So, the next day, obviously, the parents start to panic because they don't get a call. And again, the boys are really consistent and routine. And it was mentioned that Ted, often called his mom to update him. And hadn't done that, hadn't come home. So they called the police. Police search began. A few days later, the U.S. Forest Service workers found Jack Madruga's car in an extremely remote area and abandoned on a snow-covered mountain road. This was in the Plumas National Forest, and it was 70 miles in the opposite direction of their homes.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So, there's a few interesting things specifically about the car. It was abandoned. Right? But it didn't appear to be stuck in the snow. It didn't appear to have any sort of damage. There was gas left. What was that?
Oh my god.
There was a huge... They like this story.
They really like this story. Or we usually hear this late?
No.
We're usually gone by 10, right?
Usually, yeah. I'm sorry, guys. We're almost done. And we just heard, the loudest,
they're like,
thud over there.
My bedtime.
Anyways, get back to this car. It's about the boy. It's not you.
Okay. Car. Yeah.
So the car didn't appear to have any sort of damage to it. There was gas still in the tank, so it's not like they ran out of gas. The keys were missing. And going back to being in this unknown random area, that's not really something that Jack would probably want to drive in, right? It's this off-road trail. Just everybody that knew him was like, there's no way he would willingly drive his car there. So that was kind of something that immediately stood out to everybody. So this was in February. And by the time they found the car, it said a few days later. I didn't find the exact date. That could maybe have been March, right? Cool. Well, it wasn't until June.
Holy shit.
When, the snow melts, everything's clear, that a motorcyclist found a trailer in a nearby campground that had an awful smell coming from inside.
A trailer?
Yeah, a trailer at a campground. I believe it was mentioned that it was potentially part of the Forest Service's hideout or whatever. That they had prepped for the winter or whatever. I think something along those lines. But yeah, there was an awful smell coming through, and when he looked through the window, he spotted a body. And for reference, this was 12 miles from where the car was found.
So they would have had to walk 12 miles to the shed. What the hell?
When the authorities investigated, they found that it was Ted's body. He was wrapped in 8 bed sheets, head to toe, and his body showed extensive signs of frostbite. And he reportedly had lost 100 pounds.
What?
In other words, they believe that he survived nearly 2 months after their disappearance.
So maybe he literally was just out there in the wilderness, just trying to survive?
Just hunkering down.
But
it was 1978.
That indicates there was somebody with him because he was wrapped up in sheets.
Well, I think... So I kind of heard the wrapped up interpreted 2 ways. One was he was wrapped up, murdered, whatever. But I don't think that was the case. I think it was just because it was cold. He was trying to keep warm.
Oh, okay. That makes
so I heard
sense.
people interpret it both ways, but I believe it was just because he was trying to keep warm.
Gotcha.
And it was mentioned that his feet were the brunt of it. And it's typically frostbite. That's how it typically attacks your feet first.
Gets your extremities first.
Yeah, but he also had gangrene set in.
Oh.
Which is kind of interesting to me because I don't know a whole lot about gangrene, but
it's basically, it's in other words, it's trench foot. You'd probably be more familiar with.
Well, I was just, I guess, so yeah, typically when your feet are wet for a long period of time.
So basically, if you are in this, soldiers would get it back when they were in the trenches and just around here would just be wet all the time. So basically, he was probably just in wet snow all the time and never got really dry.
which
Sorry.
I bring that up because it'll be a tiny bit important later. So the other weird thing, or there's a couple specifically weird things about him dying there. He died of hypothermia and, the weirdest part, starvation, which doesn't sound weird until we look into the trailer and realize that there was a decent supplies of food that had been stocked up, like canned goods, like think like MRE type rations, like preserved food that the Forest Service had set aside. And he did have he had a specific like army can opener on him or with the food, and it was shown that there was a few cans that were eaten in packages and whatnot. Nowhere near for a 2-month thing. I mean, again, he lost 100 pounds.
Yeah.
But he had food access to him. So the reason why the military can opener is important is some people suggest that it could have potentially been Gary's can opener and that he could have been there at some point because he was in the army. And I think it had like a specific, maybe whatever marking on it that connected it to Gary. I didn't catch that part fully. But so that's a theory that Gary was potentially there at some point.
Yeah, because you would think at least one of the other boys would be with him, and maybe the reason he hadn't eaten much. I'm sorry, I'm theorizing as we go.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
He hadn't found that, because again, it was 12 miles you said away, I think.
14 miles away from...
It was 14 miles away.
Oh, no, 12 miles. You were right.
Miles.
My bad. You were right. My bad. I'm wrong.
12 miles away, so that would be a lot of ground to cover, so it probably took him a while to actually kind of make his way over there. Yeah.
The other weird thing about him specifically dying there, I guess, which also makes it weird for him dying of hypothermia, is that there was a propane heater near.
Okay, now that I just don't know.
That could have been used. That could have been used to heat.
Warm. Yeah.
However, it was a like kind of industrial type of heater,
so it might have just been like hard to like actually.
If you didn't know how to use it, you may not have known how to use it.
It's not like he could be like, "I would turn this on."
Yes.
Oh wait, no.
And you have to.
Sorry,
turning off our phones.
Yeah, I did. Oh shoot. Turn down the volume, I guess.
Gosh, I'll bleep it. Maybe if I remember.
I'll just be like, just do the dolphin noise from SpongeBob.
I forgot to do it last episode. I'm just not about it. Anyways, but yeah. So and with the heater, yeah, it was an industrial thing, so it could have been harder to operate without knowledge, or maybe you needed like a specific thing. I don't know how they weren't really specific about that.
Was he the one that wasn't really like as smart?
I mean, none of them. Ted wasn't the youngest. But he, I mean, again, they all had some sort of learning disability that's possible. He's never used a heater before, that kind of situation. I don't know. It's also, it could have been another reason. I think that potentially if it was like, I don't.
Already set in. Like, he was already out in the cold for so long that it was just kind of hard
when did they arrive? It's 14 miles. I know he was alive for 2 months, but how long was he actually there at the trailer? I don't know. There was kind of some other situations where it's like, maybe, whatever. Cool. Whatever, right? So, 2 days after Ted was found, they searched the area and they found Bill Sterling and Jack Madruga's bodies 3 miles from the trailer along the same road. Madruga's body was lying face up, and in his hands, he grasped tightly his watch and his car keys.
In one hand or both?
I don't know if it was both hands. I kind of interpreted it as one in each hand.
Yeah, I feel like a watch would be a lot to grasp.
I just feel like
I do have small hands.
It's a very interesting thing to have to die with, I guess.
Like
to be like, oh, I'm
like
dying and I have my car keys, my metal car key. I don't know. I don't know. Again, he died of hypothermia. Likely people speculate that he was trying to go back to the car or just trying to find a new route of safety. I don't know. Bill Sterling was found also like right across the street from where he was. However, he was in a further stage of decomp, and his bones were found scattered around the area.
Well, he probably got.
They say that it's likely due to animals in the area. He had also succumbed to hypothermia. So the only reason why I'm like a little suspicious about that is because it's like, how did his body get eaten up by the animals and not really madrugas. But you know, whatever. Animals are weird.
Yeah, maybe he smelled funny. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Or maybe one of them was like in a snow-covered ditch or something, because it was after the snow melted.
Yeah.
So maybe it was like one was like piled on, one was like not really as much. I don't know.
Yeah. Then the next day, a search party went looking for the rest of them, or the other two. And unfortunately, Jackie Hewitt, his remains was found. Unfortunately, he was found by his father.
Oh.
And his father found it kind of like a scavenger hunt. He first saw, you know, like his shirt.
Oh, no.
He saw, you know, his pants, his shoe, and then he saw some bones, and then he found some more bones, and then, well, he found his son. And I just cannot imagine that.
I wonder, like, was his shirt just taken off then? Like, his clothes were taken off?
So, we'll get to that. We can get to that.
I was going to say,
later.
I know symptoms of hypothermia, you get, like, hot first.
Yes.
So, then you
so that is part of it. We could just talk about it because I'm basically done.
Sorry,
but one of the theories with that is, I have it written, where is it? Yeah, the paradoxal undressing is what that's called.
Yeah.
And it's basically when you get so cold, you start to feel hot. And so your immediate reaction is like, oh, I'm so hot, I got to take off my clothes. But inevitably that makes you more cold. So that's kind of the theory behind why his clothes would be kind of scattered about.
Yeah. The only reason I know that is because I read another cold case. It was where they got like stranded. It was like skiers or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were just like all naked. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Gary Matias, he was never found. And for reference again, he was the one who was schizophrenic and the most intelligent of the group. It's a little weird. However, the only thing they did find was they did find his shoes with Ted's body in the trailer. The theory of that is that perhaps he traded them for Ted's heavy boots to navigate the snow.
Yeah.
I think it's weird because it was noted specifically that Ted was the one with the gangrene and the feet exposure, I guess. So that's kind of where a bunch of conspiracies start. So that's pretty much the case. That's pretty much like that's all that's known. They never found him. They never found anything more. This was 1978.
That's crazy.
There was no theories. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I guess 1970 something wouldn't really be cell phones at all.
Yeah, 1978. Yeah.
So they'd just be like fucked. I don't know. Why would they? Maybe they were like, I don't know. Maybe they were about to like run out of gas. No, were they in the opposite direction of the town? Like
in the opposite direction. They were further away than the city, than where they were going.
So basically, they just went further. They went opposite direction.
Yeah, they went away from their house. And again, there was no, in theory or knowing them, there was no reason they would want to not go home. It wasn't like we'll just continue our little vacation because they had a basketball game tomorrow. And it was a big deal because they wanted to go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
So
what the heck?
Maybe they just got lost.
Maybe. I guess, yeah, because you'd have to I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell because like I don't know if they've ever been to that town before, so I don't know if that was like a regular trip.
Yeah,
if they got lost or turned around, because I know if I didn't have Google Maps, it would be very, very hard to get around. So maybe they just got turned around, went on to went on like a wrong exit ramp, something.
Yeah.
And by the time they knew it, they were in the middle of nowhere, got lost. And then it just became Yellow Jackets from there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen that show.
I have not
seen
that
show. We watch it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I have a handful of conspiracies or theories that we can look at here. So the first theory is that they were just running from somebody. Why did they end up in the mountains? Thought maybe, they were running away from somebody's chasing them. They're like, hey, I'm gonna go take this way, so they don't know where I'm at. They thought if they got out of the car, maybe they wouldn't be able to recognize them, because otherwise, why would you leave a perfectly functional car in freezing conditions?
Yeah.
You would if you left your car, you would at least
I feel like
drive it to the trailer, so then you're at a house that has heat or something.
Because I feel like if it was like out of gas, they would have said like didn't have any gas.
No, it mentions they had gas in the tank. there was gas in the tank when they found the car. That was one of the things that they reported when they found the car originally. So there was literally no seeming.
There was no reason for them to stop.
Why they would get out of their car.
Maybe he was having like an episode, like the schizophrenic one, and they needed to pull over, but then why would they go the opposite direction?
Yeah.
The only reason I could think of is that they got lost and somebody got panicked and they had to but they were on like a trail. I don't know how far off into the trail or if it was like to the side of the. It's hard to tell. I need I need a map.
Yeah. And now I'm gonna just kind of the conspiracies I have are kind of just general ideas. There's not necessarily a whole lot of evidence or whatever behind them, but just so we can kind of talk about it. One of the thoughts were that maybe they picked up a hitchhiker, and the hitchhiker was crazy. I don't doubt. I mean, if Ted
would
was
they have had room for it in the car?
I wouldn't think so. The car is. I wonder if I can.
Because I was like, there's already 5 of them. Because I know that's already pretty bopping, unless they had an SUV type car.
It's literally like a car.
Yeah, so I imagine it literally
It looked way cooler back in the 70s though. That's a newer picture. I'll put a newer a picture of probably what they drove on screen for the thing. But it's a car. I'm surprised they fit 5 guys in there.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised.
I guess that's technically a theory. It was also a theory that maybe they witnessed something they weren't supposed to. And somebody made sure they never made it home. That doesn't really make sense to me because they didn't get murdered necessarily.
No, they were literally just stranded out in the middle of nowhere, but not stranded.
The question isn't how they died or why they died. The question is just why they went out there, I guess.
Yeah, it's more of just why did they go the opposite direction instead of going home, and why did they leave their perfectly, seemingly not stuck car.
Yeah,
and just reenact Yellow Jackets. Not really Yellow Jackets. I guess the Dialtov. I can't say it. It was a past incident where they were literally just hikers and they were camping and it was snowy and then they all died.
Yeah. So another the second theory is the Good Samaritan gone wrong theory. And this kind of involves the Joseph Shones, the guy who saw them. Mm-hmm. So this has a little bit better of an explanation of what he did. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. Mm-hmm. On the night the men vanished, Shones, a local man, claimed that he was stuck in the snow on the same road where the Mercury Montego, the car, was found. It was actually the same road where the car was later found. I didn't have that. I didn't know that detail. So it was supposedly where he had gotten stuck is supposedly the same road where the car was found. Supposedly, it's according to this. So yeah, okay, that's kind of suspicious. He had a mild heart attack while trying to push his car out, and inside his vehicle. And from inside his vehicle, supposedly he claimed to have seen a group of people outside near a second car along with flashlights. The reason why this is kind of all blurry and why I can't explain this very well is because he kind of kept changing his statements. Mm-hmm. And so one time, it was this, and then one time it was this, and one time it was this, and then we're playing a huge game of telephone between him and also, everybody else that's reported the story.
Yeah, same with mine, all the way back in 1945.
Yeah. So there's, there's potential, if you have a different theory, you let us know. But it's potential. I mean, that kind of makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I feel like it makes a tiny bit of sense. Maybe the most sense of okay, he's involved in some way because he's just some random guy. Where'd he come from? If I was watching a TV show, I'd be like, that guy, because he's the only other guy that doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
But this isn't a show. And then, of course, we have the fact that Gary and his schizophrenia, so he had an episode, he convinced them to leave and go or whatever, or maybe he started freaking out in the car. Mm-hmm. And so they left him in the car and they were like, all right, we're just gonna leave you, man. And then he found, I don't know, he was in the military, maybe he had something. A knife or something, or a gun or something. I don't know, he was never found, so we don't really know.
He could still be bopping around.
Yeah, but yeah, kind of one of my silly theories I think that I hadn't heard anybody bring up is just that Gary almost just manipulated them, was like, hey guys, we don't need to do, I don't know, whatever, because there's not a whole, at least what I heard, and again, we literally did this research today, so if we missed some things, I'm sorry. But like some of the things I heard, you know, they got along with their family, but like, what if Gary was like, hey, they're abusing us. We don't need them. We can be our own independent people. Here, let's go out to this trailer and survive. Yeah. And then it just didn't turn out how he thought or something. I don't know.
Cause it's crazy how he was inside and they were all outside.
Yeah.
Because they would have been they weren't face down or anything, right? They were like looking up. They were on their backs.
So the two that were found outside, the two that were found together outside, the one with the watch and the keys was found face up, and the other one was found face down.
Because the face down seems more collapsy. I guess he could have like went back, but usually when somebody collapses, they literally just like I don't know.
Yeah, but I would imagine. Okay, I've never died of hypothermia, but
it's very. I feel like it'd be very.
I feel like he would eventually just be like, okay, I'm just gonna give up now. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it wouldn't. It's not like, oh, you got shot and you fell and died. I don't know.
Oh, that's weird.
So that's kind of
because it's weird that they didn't try to like get together and like huddle for warmth, at least if they couldn't figure out the generator or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. And you just the thing that really throws me off is they didn't eat the food.
Why wouldn't they have eaten the food?
Why wouldn't you? And if he theoretically survived 2 months, so I believe it's that Ted, the guy that was first found, was actually the one who survived the longest. I believe, since the others were all mentioned bones, and his, you know, they were able to tell that like he had gangrene and all that grossness going on. Now maybe that's just because he was inside. I don't know.
So the one they never found, so I'm bad with names. The one they never found in Ted were probably like either they lasted like the longest or they couldn't find the other one because they just got taken by animals or whatever.
Yeah. And
who knows? They barely found the one that was just
scattered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird.
That, or he's still out there and he's like a mountain man now.
I know. Like, yeah, Gary, he could have ran away to find another trailer. You know, Ted died and he was like freaked out because his friend died. And then he's like, everyone's dead. Where do I go? But wouldn't you take the food? But if he was having a schizophrenic episode, because if he hadn't, at this point, I mean, he hadn't been taking his medicine. So I don't know. And I don't know necessarily his level of schizophrenia or like what that meant to him, you know, what kind of things he saw or whatever it was, because there's obviously different levels. There's different variants. So
stuff. Yeah.
I'm not really sure on that part, but he could have imagined that he was in a situation and did something, or who knows. I almost wonder that would kind of make the situation with him being the one who made it happen make sense if he like they went on this trip and didn't take his medicine
or something.
Whether it was he just forgot to take them, like bring them with him, or if he forgot to take them because he's out of routine. I suppose that, I don't know, to me that probably makes the most sense. Of course, some people believe that the government was involved, that they stumbled upon something they shouldn't have. I don't know.
I feel like if the government was involved, they probably would have just killed them instead of leaving them.
I don't know.
I guess maybe it made it look kind of like an accident.
Unless they just lied, like, you know, because they could have lied about cause of death and everything like that. That's true. They could have been like, oh yeah, they died of hypothermia, but actually we didn't, you know. Sure. They, you know, maybe they saw something they weren't supposed to. I feel like they just weren't, I don't know, they were already deemed as kind of crazy and unreliable to the community, especially again 1978. People aren't really going to believe the kid with autism, right? But I don't know. I think that was kind of a stretch, but I thought that was an interesting one because, of course, everyone's going to blame the government at some point. The kind of last two here, of course, some people believe that, you know, maybe it was Bigfoot. Maybe Bigfoot took him out, you know? Maybe they were hanging out with Sasquatch, right? And that's why they fled the car. That could be, like, why they fled the car, you know?
It's like
there was no damage on it.
Like in the Goofy movie?
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what happens?
Yeah. Oh. Actually, this is just actually the Goofy movie. You caught me. Imagine.
Just turn the computer around and you're just playing the Goofy movie.
I know. I'm just over here like, imagine for April Fool's Day, I'm going to tell a story of like a like a kids movie, but make it like a horror movie. Almost like, you know, like the true story of fairy tales and stuff like that.
The Brothers Grimm.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, or, you know, it could have been, you know, supernatural, something, they saw something spooky. Some people say they were abducted by aliens. Yeah. And then, of course, some people believe that perhaps there was a local killer. So there was a, you know, someone there killing people, or a group of people killing people, because it was a remote area and a rarely traveled area. I just, again, they weren't said to have been stabbed or shot or blunt forced or something, or like, it's not like they were being trapped. You know, they weren't like tied up and starved. I mean, I guess technically they could have, and maybe they didn't, you know, until the very last minute, and they broke free, and then that's why they didn't eat the food. They did eat the food, but it wasn't enough. I don't know. I think that's a far stretch. My guess is that
it's also just weird that he died with the keys, like, right here.
Yeah, why would you, like last minute, you're 12 miles away. It's not like the car's right there and you're like, oh, my car, I'm going to unlock the door, and then I died. It's like
you'd think if you had your car keys on you that you'd put them in your pocket.
But maybe he loved the car enough. His last moment, he was just thinking about his car, and he was just like, man, I left you, baby. Why'd I do that?
Or he didn't have the keys in the first place and somebody gave it to him and he just clutched it. He was like, son of a bitch.
It feels placed.
If that, especially with like the watch. Like, why wouldn't he be wearing it?
And that's what, I don't know. Unless it was like a pocket watch.
Unless it was like a watch somebody gave to him that he was like, he knew he was going out.
Yeah, and that I didn't find information on or anything, but, you know, I don't know. I think the most plausible theory is, they got lost. I don't know, were like, hey, let's go check this way. I think I saw a building. Let's leave the car. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of weird. I could see maybe getting lost, the stress of that on anybody could make somebody, you know, start to panic and then be like, okay, we gotta get out of here. Like, we need to know. No, you need to pull this car over right now. Like, we can't do this. Like, this isn't okay. You know, like, that kind of situation. Maybe again involved with them, Gary potentially not taking his meds. And it would kind of make sense he would be the one to survive or find a different location, since in theory he's the most intellectual one, so he might have some more survival instincts than the others. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people kind of talk down on the other guys and be like, oh, dumb idiots, but it's like, I don't know.
I think it's just crazy that I get the propane here part, but the food part, I was like,
the food part is what really gets me. Why wouldn't you eat the food? It's not like it was locked up and they didn't find it. They ate some of it. Somebody ate some of the food.
Yeah.
Unless somebody found it afterwards. I'm like, maybe, you know what I mean? And Gary switched his shoes, which again could be maybe after Ted died, he switched his shoes. I guess there wasn't really information on that.
I don't know.
But yeah, I thought that was a very interesting story. I went from being like, oh, I could probably just talk, oh, they got abandoned, where they go? And I was like, oh, there's actually like all these details.
Yeah,
like,
that's like so vague. Like, with mine, you kind of had, like, maybe an idea, because, like, everything was, like, suspicious, and you were like, oh, that's probably kind of what happened. This one is just, like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, it's, like, it's just really weird for 5 people to break their habits when they are such habit-forming and habit-following people. I don't know.
I think it's crazy that we both did stories on 5 missing people.
You know, that's weird. I didn't realize that until you just said that. That's kind of odd. But yeah, that was fun. I'm glad we had time for both of them in one. So sorry you're getting both of them in one instead of the second episode.
We lied to you.
I feel lied to. Cut to Tegan being like, I feel lied to because you didn't come back in 1 second.
Dear Diary, I was ready to read my podcast segment, but I was rudely interrupted. And I was told to wait 1 second.
He said 1 second.
It was longer than 1 second.
Like 25 seconds.
I waited for 1 minute.
But that was a lot of fun. I did actually really quickly, just since this episode's already long, I want to read the one real quick, the one conspiracy theory that I did find.
Go for it. That
started me being like, oh, we should do conspiracy theories, because I was thinking, you know, like some fun ones like this. So this one's from r/conspiracy on Reddit. And it's just that they believe that our phones are programmed to listen for running water from our sink.
What the fuck?
Because every time I'll just read it. We already know our phones are listening to us constantly. That much is obvious. This is not a joke. I am almost 100% certain that our phones can hear us and listen to us for a distinguished sound of the faucet running. Why do I think this? Because every single time, without fail, when I do my dishes or wash my hands while watching anything on the internet, an ad will play within 30 seconds, sometimes immediately after I wet my hands. This SOB know we have wet hands and have a harder time skipping the ad. I fully believed this for years. The crazy thing, almost everybody in the comments says, yeah, I think so. What? So that was the one that like made me think, hey, we should do some fun conspiracy theories. And then we ended up talking about murder. But next time you are watching a video and doing the dishes, time how long it takes for you to get an ad. Perhaps you're watching this and doing the dishes. Did you get an ad? I found that like a week ago or something, and I've been thinking about it. I haven't tested it, but I've been thinking about it. I've never thought about it.
I've never thought about it, but to be fair, I don't listen to a lot of things that like I'll listen to like podcasts, but they'll kind of have like the ads in there, and it's not something I like. I'm like, it's whatever.
I'm not like start doing the dishes. I'm like already listening to a video and then I start doing the dishes. So if an ad were to play, it wouldn't be surprising, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it'd be like, I'm unlucky, but I'm gonna be thinking about it from now on.
Well, so I'll think about it.
So there was the conspiracy for this conspiracy episode, like an hour and a half in, or however long it's been. But yeah, thanks for watching. That was so much fun. Hopefully we're gonna do something fun next time. Since I'm doing these every 2 weeks. Guess what?
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be my birthday. Yeah. So we're gonna do something fun for my birthday. I haven't decided what yet. I'm thinking about doing a local true crime story. Two local true crime stories. I'm thinking about it. It'll be soon. I just don't know if it'll be the next episode or if we'll probably be that or like paranormal something again because I like spooky stuff. But stay tuned so you can wish me happy birthday on March 26th. Thanks. Bye. That's all I got. Follow us on Spotify.